Welcome to the Aging Parent Playbook, the podcast that empowers adult children of aging parents to navigate the complexities of caregiving, family dynamics, and senior care with confidence. I'm Dr. Barbara Sparacino, a triple board certified psychiatrist and coach, here to guide you through real-world strategies and expert advice to help your loved ones age with dignity while protecting your own well-being. Whether you're new to caregiving or have been at it for years, this playbook is for you. Let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Aging Parent Playbook, where we provide guidance on the complex challenges of caring for aging loved ones. Today, I'm going to address a particularly sensitive issue, assisting your aging parents in transitioning away from driving. Sounds complicated, huh? Yes, it can be. This conversation is often fraught with emotional and practical concerns. But if we approach it carefully and with empathy, it can lead to better and safer outcomes for everyone. So before anything, let's talk about what driving means, right? So for many seniors and for most adults, even though we may not be aware of it, driving symbolizes independence and freedom. The prospect of giving up one's driver's license can feel like a profound loss, right? That they're going to lose touch with the outside world. They're going to lose their independence. It can impact their self-esteem and most definitely impact their daily routines. So it's really important to recognize the emotional weight that this transition, right, can have when we talk about approaching the subject. So, and as we come into the holiday season, right, where it may be time that you may be spending more time with your aging parent, it's good to be observant, right? And I call this a quiet observation, right? Just be looking and try not to make it too obvious, because, the last thing you want is your parent asking you, what are you looking at? What are you searching for? But, really looking at, have there been frequent close calls, right? Or have they been experiencing near misses, right? Or have they received multiple traffic tickets? And it really takes a lot of trust for your parent to also talk to you about this. And we want to kind of invite that safety, right? Have they mentioned any difficulty, or has their spouse or somebody else told you about them having difficulty navigating familiar routes, right? That can also be problematic, right? Are they exhibiting physical limitations, right? And technology has been wonderful because now we no longer have to do the looking back over the shoulder to look back, right? But even just navigating using the monitor to look at the rear camera, right? Are there visual impairments, right? Is how diminished are their reaction times, right? Because there's in normal aging, there's slower reaction times, right? But how much slower? Is it something that's impactful, right? And how is their cognition, right? Are they still able to navigate complex issues, right? Like, are they able to navigate a four-way stop well, right? Are they able to merge onto oncoming, like into a highway, right? And as we age, many aging adults self kind of regulate that, and they stop driving on highways. They only go into like on the streets, right, where they feel they have more control, less speeding, right, more ability to stop if necessary, right? So if you do notice any of these, right, it is really important to approach at the right time, right? Choose the right moment. That's like in all conversations in life. It's about the timing. It's really, really important. And it's always important, especially when bringing up a sensitive topic, is to start with I statements. I've noticed that your driving has changed a little bit, or I've noticed, or I'm concerned about your safety, right? And provide specific examples. Because of course, when they say I'm concerned about your safety, the response is going to be, you're crazy, or what do you mean? What are you talking about? Right? And to have specific examples and try to not be, it doesn't have to be like a police report on July 15th at 10:17 a.m. This event occurred, right? But general and kind of more casual, right? Um, and if at all possible, it is really good if this can happen with a healthcare professional, right? If you go with your parent to their primary care doctor, right? And you say, hey, I've been noticing there's been some challenges. What do you think? Right? Because what a doctor, what a physician can do is offer an objective evaluation of how they're doing, right? We can order testing that involves testing their cognitive, right? There's even testing that involves actually literally driving. It's usually done by physical medicine and rehabilitation, right? It's a test to see how their reaction times are, and it usually starts with them doing a simulated driving test on a computer, right? If they pass that, then someone may go out in the field with them, right? And this is a wonderful tool to be able to really give concrete examples of what's going on, and to have something that's not just, mom, I think it's time for you to stop driving, right? Um, so what happens if your parent is like, I'm not gonna talk about it. Um, I'm not, I don't. No, you're wrong. You're wrong, right? Again, I think it's still important to really bring this up with their doctors, right? In some states, a doctor will be mandated to report this to the Department of Motor Vehicles if there is a concern about safety, right? And they may have their driver's license revoked. Again, I know that revoking someone's driver's license does not necessarily mean they're going to stop driving, because they may still want to drive, right? And there's you yourself can report uh, your concerns, and it can be done anonymously. And for most states, yeah, I would be hesitant to do that unless it's something very, very concerning, right? Um, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is foster trust and foster communication, right? Because what we want, because I mean, as long as someone else's safety is not being immediately put in at risk, right? And you may even have to consult an attorney to see what your responsibilities are, of knowing this information, right? Because then, if God forbid something happens, then if you knew that your parent was driving, it could be seen as negligence on your part, right? Again, I'm not an attorney, so I think it'd be best to, depending on state laws, onto to talk about that, Um, what it's also important is, if this is what's going to happen, right? If your parent is going to stop driving, have at the ready alternative transportation options, right? Some smaller towns have um, free transportation. There's even in some smaller towns, they have like free Uber service, like for around the community, like a little shuttle service, right? There's public transportation. Some older folks may qualify for um, some transportation services that are subsidized by the state or the federal government, right? Especially if it goes to medical appointments and they have to pay a small fee, right? And also talk about, taking them places, right? About setting a schedule. Um, because it can be very overwhelming to think that all of a sudden they're going to be, you know, locked in their house or in their home and not be able to leave, you know? And it can be very challenging. It can be very challenging. And it is really important to have this at the ready and know what the plan is going to be, right? And one of the daughters of one of my patients, right? She was very well, she was my client, and we spoke about ways of addressing this with her father, because she had noted some dents in his cars. Nothing major, right? But it was more the amount of them as opposed to the severity of them. And he had always been a very conscientious, very safe driver. He himself, he was 84. He himself had stopped driving at night because of not trusting his vision, which also diminishes at night. Vision diminishes, and the ability to judge distance at night is particularly difficult, especially with the oncoming traffic and the light. And this starts occurring to everyone, like I think in like our 50s, 60s, right? So this is not something that's like super late onset, but people just start driving less and less at night as we age, right? Because of these concerns. And she was able to sit him down and say, look, I'm really worried. I'm really worried that you're going to hurt yourself. I'm really worried that you're going to hurt somebody else. I know you love driving and you've always been a very conscientious driver, and I have these concerns, right? And because not only was he driving himself, he was also driving his wife, her mother, right? And so it was a concern about both of them, right? And but she had at the ready, this is the options that you have, right? And a voluntary surrender is a much, much, much healthier way of going about things than having to take it away, you know? Um, and because at the end of the day, you know, helping our aging parents retire from driving is challenging, but it is a necessary step to ensure their and the public's well-being and safety, right? Um, we ought to approach this conversation with compassion, provide practical alternatives, and seek professional guidance when needed. But remember, the ultimate goal is to support your loved one. So thank you for joining me on this episode of the Aging Parent Playbook. Stay tuned for more insights and strategies to navigate the complexities of aging and caregiving. Till next time. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Aging Parent Playbook. I hope you found the information useful and empowering. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to share it with someone who could benefit from this playbook too. For more tips, resources, and details about my coaching program, The Aging Parent Plan, visit my website at theagingparentcoach.com. Until next time, remember, you don't have to navigate this journey alone. We're in this together. The content shared on the Aging Parent Playbook is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical, legal, or financial advice. Always consult with a qualified professional regarding your specific situation. Listening to this podcast does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Any opinions shared are my own and do not reflect those of any organization I'm affiliated with.